Welcome back to another episode of the Success Times Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Richard Thompson. Today, I am joined by Dr. Leon Stensholm, an honorary Doctor of Arts in Mental Health, Australia Day Ambassador, and the Sunshine Coast Leader of the Year and Citizen of the Year for 2024. Leon is a mentor, a change maker, and has turned unimaginable pain into life-saving purpose, from a childhood shaped by self-doubt and career-ending injuries to the loss of his brother Dean to suicide, and ultimately founding Lookout '07. His journey is one of resilience, faith, and service. In this episode, you'll learn how pain can become purpose. Whether you're a parent, a leader, or navigating your own challenges, this conversation is for you. All right, let's get into it.
Dr. Leon, thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Mate, it's a pleasure. Richard, it really, really is, mate.
You are a figurehead of the Sunshine Coast and what you're doing and have been doing for a number of years now, mate. And I really feel very honoured to be able to have you on, to listen to your story, to understand, the lessons that you have learned along the way. What impresses me most about you is your ability to be, I guess, develop a support network for the people on the Sunshine Coast and probably more broadly at a time when they need it the most. But take me back, Leon. Take me back to your childhood, because it's the path. Things happen to us that create the path that we get to a place that we are now. And I'm interested to know what life was like as a child, soccer, injuries. Like, give me a snapshot of what it was like.
Yeah, interesting, because it'll be a 360 story to today. And that's probably the inspiring part for most people to know, don't need to be great. You don't need to be academically brilliant. Sometimes you've just got to be, I guess I'm a big man to follow my heart. That's probably one thing I always identified with myself was I always felt like I was just a nice person. And ironically, I got dumped by every girlfriend when I was at school because it was pretty cool.
Nice.
The nice guy never wins. But you know what I always said to the fellas? I say, guys, I can't change. So I always had this kind of, I guess, unexplained authenticity without even that word even coming up, 30 years ago. But there was something that I just wanted to remain who I was. I didn't want to be anyone else. I love my brother. I wanted to be Dean. He was academically brilliant, great at every sport, straight A student.
Just the two of you and your family?
Two sisters as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so the two sisters. Dean was the eldest, and his nickname was Gold, right? So yeah, we were as good as twins. We grew up together, side by side. Well, why wouldn't you idolise someone that was brilliant? 18 months.
Yeah, okay, so real close.
Yeah, and I always used to ask mum and dad in a quiet voice, but a very honest voice. I'd say, so, Mum and Dad, why was Dean so brilliant and great? Or at this time, I'd say, why is Dean when he was alive? And I got the leftovers, genetics, right? And I'd say that sincerely. And they sincerely would answer the truth. And Dad would just say, just being kind. He had a great relationship with my parents, by the way. Dad would say, oh, you're just stupid like me. We didn't get the brains. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, yeah, Dad was honest, and he was a factory worker back then. And to this day, I've actually never ever had a fight with my parents. I actually get along with. I don't fight with people. I just don't argue. I don't go down that road. But so I led to believe that that was who I was, and the proof was in the pudding. I struggled through school.
How old are you when you received that?
It would have been early teens. They were in that 13, 14, and then as we got into that year 11 and 12, and Mum would be concerned. Oh, what's Leon going to do? The other kids are firing Dean, straight A student. And then I made the state team for New South Wales, so I was good at soccer. Right? I was really good at soccer. And I remember driving out to Blacktown one day, and we had the chat with Dad, and he's talking about school. He goes, "You reckon you can get through school?" And I said, "Yeah, Dad." I said, "You know what, Dad? I won't be giving you A's and B's." I said, "But I don't know. I just know how to grind." I said, I'm going to study as hard as I can, and if I can get a C, I'm good with that. And he goes, "Mate, you'll be happy with that." He goes, "What do you want to do when you leave school?" I said, "I don't know, Dad. I don't know." He goes, "Well, your best bet is probably being a truck driver." I said, "Why is that?" He goes, well, you don't really have to use your brain. You've just got to drive, right? And that's no disrespect to truck drivers, but that's what he said at the time. And I said, "Dad, but," and I just got my license at this time. I said, "But I can't even reverse a trailer, Dad. So I probably can't even be a truck driver." But that's what I was led to believe at a younger age. And he meant no malice whatsoever. He was always straight down the line. Dean was brilliant, and you got a lot of work to do. So that was the greatest thing Dad ever taught me. So I can look at this one or the other. But as I sort of left school and got a trade, I started realising that, Leon, okay, in life, nothing's going to come easy for you. Dino was, again, never studied, straight A student, played for Australia for soccer. academically, there wasn't anyone better. He was a Ducks of the school captain, good-looking guy, nicknamed River Phoenix, Brad Pitt, I got the leftovers. It was just how it is. Soccer ball head, actually. I got soccer ball head was my nickname, Richard, to be honest. I had a big round head when I was younger. So I'm definitely against the 8 ball. But you know what? Something always taught me that, Leon, that things are going to come tough, like I mentioned. So consistency and discipline and persistence and patience, these boring words that don't really stand the test of time in 2026. But you would know more than anyone, Richard, in your training, in your past, that they are the fundamentals. And if you can execute them, and I just learned, that I had to do things a tough way, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
What I'm hearing though is that your dad, with all respect, would you argue that? Would you think that he had a closed mindset?
Yeah, look, definitely. This is just how it is, and I adapted that. Look, I went on and did a trade, nothing fancy, and didn't even like it. Then I left that and just worked for myself for 4 years, and just made a business of delivering furniture, and it just was a nothing, but it turned out to be okay. But I had extreme anxiety growing up, and my people skills were terrible. I hid behind a glorious brother, nicknamed Gold. Well, why wouldn't you be the shadow? So I lived in a shadow of Dino up until 35 years young. And that's all I did, and I just kind of coasted through life. But I did the trade, and I left the trade. I got back into it again, and I was actually turned out to be very good at it. I was very good at electronics, and then I had a nickname of Mr. Dakin. I worked for Dakin, and I used to fly around the country and fix the things other people couldn't fix. So there was something there, but I still had zero belief of I could achieve anything great. It just wasn't my mindset. So I've sort of adapted this success business attitude super late in life. So it's probably worked in my favor. I believe that I've kind of peaked a little bit later. And
then you turned from soccer, you got injured.
Yeah. So I just signed a contract for this great team, Bankstown Macedonia in Sydney. And that was my dream, right? The dream was then to go to America. And then I fractured the femur, which was quite nearly fatal. I bled out like 3 liters of blood. So it was pretty horrible. But anyway, there goes that. So the only thing I was good at, that was shut down. And the doctor said, you're done. You won't ever walk again. So that was the response. You won't walk again. So I still played that season. I come back. That was the very first trial game. It was January. I come back in August, the end of that year, and played and ended up getting the grand finals. We won the grand final. We won State Cup, Champions of Champions. I come back on a fire, and then again I was just like, wow. And again, it taught me also about stop listening to what people are telling you. So I started getting this inkling. I didn't really believe it a great deal.
Right.
And then the following year I went on, and then unfortunately another injury. I had an ACL as the following year. So that's enough to throw another little dagger in the heart again. And then so I sat out 9 months, and because I was contracted, they sort of pushed me to come back quicker. So I come back quicker, and then played the next season again. First turn, ACL did it again. So there was 3 operations in 3 years. And then I had to sit out for a whole season. Then I come back the following year. So as I sort of hit my early 20s, and then I got through a season finally, and I signed another deal. And then unfortunately, the very last game of the season, I fractured my ankle. So that was mean I was out, but that put me out for the off season. And it sounds like a comedy story, right?
Yeah.
And then I thought, that's okay. I'll just come back again next year and have another go. And mate, I got like round 3 or 4 in the following year, and then I did it again, the opposite ankle. So I had the 3 knees done and the 2 ankles. Yeah, all by the time I was 23. And so I had to retire at 23, and I gave it away. So, but somehow I come back at 35. I thought, no, I'm not done. I'm learning a lot of skills. I feel good. I got myself really fit and sharp, and I come back and played, and I went straight into the top team again at 35. I thought, maybe I'll peak later. And I lasted 3 games and did my right knee. Yeah, I know. so anyway, my wife at this time's, thinking you're mad, like you're going to have to give it away. And so I did. So I gave it away, and I got itchy feet when I was 42. And I thought, maybe I can come back again. So I thought this will be my last chance. So I come back at 42, and then I went straight into A grade again this is more indoor soccer then. And I've been playing ever since, 49 now. So I still play a decent level now. I did have my last reconstruction 4 years ago. I had another one. I snapped the kneecap, and then I had a shoulder reconstruction at the same time. But you know what? Again, I put myself out there. I accept also, Richard, that these things are going to happen. I've had past injuries. So look, you learn so much resilience, mate. You really do. So yeah, so loving life, and the lessons I've learned, I wouldn't trade them for anything.
Talk to me about the events leading up to Dean's passing and how that looked maybe in the month or 2 beforehand.
So this was when I was 35. Again, just coasting, nothing flashy, just in the background doing my thing behind Dino. And so Dino never asked for advice. He didn't need it. He was so great in my eyes. This was my first understanding of depression. So when he rung me one day with a tone in his voice that wasn't Dean, and he'd ring me every single Friday night, hey brother, how you going? And just before the footy on Friday night, and we'd just have a brotherly chat. Always like he's always happy. He's doing so great. But he'd already had 6 beers under his belt. I wasn't aware of that, Richard, and I was very unskilled regarding this depression and masking and whatnot. So at that moment, for him to ring me up and say, we need to catch up, there was an alarm bell right there, and that was a bit of a nervous state for me to go, why would Dino ask for my help? So anyway, I drove down to Brisbane where he was at that time, staying with mum and dad. Something's happened. And so I went down there, and as a brother, we don't know anything else other than let's just go down for a beer. We'll go and have a beer and we'll have a chat and see what goes on. So he always wore this cowboy hat. You never saw him without his cowboy. It was just his signature, right? He had long hair, cowboy hat, glasses, and just a smile at all times. And so for us to go to the bar, and then I'd buy him a beer and sit there, and he was always in your face. He'd talk, 10 mil from your face. You're almost touching noses. But that's how Dino was. He loved people, and he loved engaging with people. So for one day for me to have a chat with him, sit opposite him, and he had his head down without any eye contact, that's a red flag there. And I'd never seen the top of his hat, because he'd always be stand up proud and tall. And so for the day that he dropped his head and he dropped his hat, and then he didn't even speak, he'd always answer. He would do the talking, I'd do the listening. And this time I was the speaker. That was new to me. And I don't know what to do other than, Dino, what's wrong, mate? And as he dropped his head, then he slowly lifted his hat and his eyes, and that's when he looked me right in the eyes. And Dean always told the truth. One thing, he got himself in a lot of trouble, but he never lied. He was always genuine and authentic. If he made a mistake, he would tell you. And he mumbled them words into my eyes and said, mate, I'm about to go kill myself. So that was the moment that I've gone, what do you do? What do you say? I'm sitting there and I'm going, well, I'm not educated. I don't know. I'm just a tradesman. I wasn't taught this stuff. No one spoke about this 13 years ago.
You're probably also reconciling internally that your life hero is just throwing this at you, let alone your inability to respond or to help or what to do. But this sort of fourth wall superhero in front of you is just like disappearing.
Yeah, and you're 100% right, Richard.
The identity of him is gone.
That's right. That's why it was tried. I didn't know what to say. Like, how do you respond? It's something I'd expect from someone that you knew maybe 5 years, that the person was struggling. You could understand that. But for that to come, so it kind of hit me pretty hard. And I had no response, which was the most stupidest thing to this day is, hey, do you want another beer? And he hadn't even touched his first beer. So as I did, he said yes. Anyway, I went and bought him another beer, and we sat down. Not much was said. And I said, mate, let's get out of here. Anyway, I didn't think it was a good idea to be in a bar while he was this down. So he went home to mum and dad's, and I dropped him home, and I went home.
You didn't discuss anything with him?
Didn't like I say, I was
idea.
Absolute frozen. And again, just driving home going, oh, what an idiot. What should I say? What could I have said? I don't know. Do I ring someone? I don't know. Do I tell mum and dad? Do they already know? And by the time I'd got home back up the Sunshine Coast, I'd kind of just like buried it and kept it to myself in case someone finds out that I've done the wrong thing. So I just buried it. Don't know what to do. And then he rang me. We hadn't spoken again until 7 days later. He rang me at 7 a.m. in the morning. And when I'm looking at my phone and I saw his name come up, I'm like, I don't know what to say. I'm just going to hang up. So I actually hung up and didn't answer the phone call. And then 5 minutes later, my head's gone, oh my God. He left a voicemail message. I thought I'll quickly listen to the voicemail message. And he left a voicemail message, which was staggering. And it's heartbreaking for me to even say, but it's simply, I still remember it to this day. It says, hey bro, I'm so sorry, but I got to go. Love to your family. So I frantically tried to ring him back, and the phone had just gone to voicemail message, and he took his life after that. So it was one of them moments where I go, you've just reconfirmed what mum and dad said, right? Or what dad said, you are no good. Yeah, so that was the biggest reconfirming in my life, you are a failure. So that was the moment where was probably the darkest moment, well, probably the second most darkest moment of my life. That was the moment where I've gone, I don't know how I bounce back from this one.
How did you feel, or how did the news get to you that he had taken his own life?
So during that day, I immediately contacted my sisters and mum and dad, and my sisters also got a phone call, but no one picked the phone up at 7 a.m. So everyone missed his call. And I think my sisters actually got a text message, not actually a phone call then. So we knew something wasn't right. So we'd put the feelers out. This was in Lismore. He was in Lismore. I was in Brisbane working at the time. So I just continued work. I didn't know what to do. Do I drive to Lismore? I don't know where he is. He didn't say. That wasn't left that on the message. So my part was just going, I'll just continue on with the day. I'll hang around. I'll be on alert, speak to mum and dad. And we then obviously contacted the police based on the messages we got, even though it hadn't been X amount of hours. But it was alarming. So there was a big search party that went out. And then I guess there was a couple of places that his ex-wife knew that he used to take the kids all the time. And there was a familiar place, and that place come up, and sure enough, that's where he was. And so that was the part of my life where I go, I hate to say this, but it probably was the making and defining part of who Leon was destined to be.
Yeah. I asked you in the lead up to this chat what would be a question, because you're an incredible public speaker, mate. And I've had the beauty of being able to hear your story before, and I asked you what would be a question that you've never been asked. And you honestly came back to me and said, how does it feel knowing that you didn't answer that phone? And has that feeling, those emotions, what's the arc of that in your lifetime since that date? Because as you said, like, that really, really catastrophic, unfortunate event has seismically changed your direction. And seismically impacted over 50,000 individual kids. What you're doing now with your charity, like it's and we'll get into that, but it's you sort of then, how have you processed that emotionally?
Yeah, I guess the one thing like I said probably at the start, I'm very genuine, I'm very honest, and I'm very open. And I'm kind of like that with myself too. And I'm happy to, say I made a mistake, and people say, no, it wasn't your fault. Dean would have done it anyway. I said, no, from a male perspective or just a human being's perspective, it was comforting for me to put my hand up and go, I made a mistake, I screwed up, and I am the costly worthy of why my brother's not here today. Now people can debate and say, he was going through X, Y, Z. I understand that. But there's honesty and humility from a human being to go, okay, I didn't pull the trigger, but my actions were all wrong. And the cool thing is, I've got those actions pretty much down pat today, and it's taken me, again, 5 heartaches, not just Dino, but 4 other clients I lost to suicide just not long after Dino. So there was a massive confirmation of my ability to do anything great in life, to be honest. But like I said, I also at the start too, I always had, for some reason, some little ability to know, you know what, I'm always do things the hard way. And going past the immediate first month of Dino, obviously I was the sole blame. I was the last person in contact with him, so his wife copped a little bit as well. But I always stood beside her and say, hey, the blame game doesn't fix anyone. It doesn't change anything. And I kind of kept some reason this little positive outlook to go, hey, what can we do now? There was a processing of a month to try to get your head around what's happened. And then I just knew in that second month, which this was a very early phase, might I say, Richard, I'm not expecting anyone to follow my protocol, but I just knew in my heart to go, Leon, mate, I don't know anything other than health and fitness. I don't know anything other than bodybuilding, soccer, movement. Movement's always been since I've been a young kid. That's just what I've done. I'm also honest and raw, so processing information, I was fine to do that as well. That was the building blocks. You have to sit here and acknowledge the role you played or the role you didn't play, and you've got to acknowledge that vulnerability. If you don't do that, you're going to bury the hatchet and you're going to think you carry on, and then 10 years' time, it's going to come and knock you down just when you don't want it to. You could be in a great time of life, great marriage, relationship with kids, but that wound, if it's not healed or addressed, or at least a work in progress, it's what we call childhood trauma, right? It's what a lot of parents will carry back in their early days. I just knew that, Richard. I
Yeah,
don't
my
know.
question, Leon, is where do you find that skill set, that awareness at that 2 month post your brother's passing, when your childhood isn't in a growth mindset of family, isn't, look, no matter how hard it is in life, you're gonna succeed, you're gonna be great. That sort of pumping up your tires. You're coming from a place of your worth is very limited, your worth is capped, your potential is capped to a truck driver if you're lucky.
Yeah.
But somehow in the depth of that moment of your brother's passed, you will you've not only missed it, you've denied the call. Yet you found that piece to go, I need to be authentically honest here, accept my role, but don't take on any more, and find a positive towards it, out of it.
And it's one of the greatest statements I think you've made there, and I got an easy answer for it too, Richard. I think, when I said before how I always lived in the shadow of Dino. So you're living in a shadow, there's no way of exposing your greatness or your great tools and what you're good at. So if I'm thinking I'm someone and I just think it's easier to be comfortable sitting behind someone, it's not until that person's moved to the left, no longer here. Oh, okay, now it's up to me. I've got to start thinking for myself, making my own decisions. Let's get proactive here. And I think, it's like a young kid knows if he picks up a football and he goes, mate, I've got a cracking left foot. You know what I mean? Or I've got a wicked pass, I'm going to be a halfback, or someone goes, I'm going to do, ultra marathons. There's something in your heart to know, what, I'm pretty good at this. There was something that taught me after the processing and the importance of that processing. It did open a slight clear way to go, what now? And in the most crazy thing after that, my brain said, all right, we need to get a goal. We need to go back to some sort of organic routine that's, something that's the utmost basic. And I'm just talking, just might be get up at a certain time, and I might just try to walk into the gym and show my face, and people are going to ask the story. And I thought I'm just going to go back to the basics and simplify everything at the moment. And that little bite-sized pieces over the weeks and the months then got me thinking, all right, I'm going to ramp this up a little bit. And then the crazy mind of me decided, well, why don't I, how great can a human being be when their back's against the wall? My experiences prior is there's no evidence to tell me that it works. But my heart was saying, you know what, I'm going to find the best coach there is over in America, and I'm going to get him to coach me to a bodybuilding show, Richard, and I'm going to go do a bodybuilding show during the challenge of what I'm going through now. Everyone said, you're crazy, your family. They're like, Leon, what are you doing? How are you going to focus on this? I said, I don't have the answers yet, but what I do know is maybe it's my time. Maybe it's my time to stand up and do something for the family and put a smile on their faces. So I did. I knuckled down. For 20 weeks, but never missed a session, never missed a meal. This was 3 months after it. And me and it wasn't rocket science. It was just something that I was just going to tick off every day. Just get up at this time, just go train at this time, just go and eat this food. We're going to all do those basics anyway. I just had to tune them up a little bit. Mate, after 20 weeks, mate, I put myself on stage and then won everything I got in my best condition possible. And then there was at this fitness expo. I still remember in Sydney, and the MC knew the story. They'd been following the story. And I remember him giving me the microphone about, mate, like, in 5 minutes, can you just talk about what you just went through? It's my first time of sort of talking on stage, and I'd never even spoken to anyone other than a couple of mates before. But what I did do when I grabbed the microphone, and all this stuff just comes straight out, emotions about being vulnerable, having a conversation, standing up, acknowledge your flaws and challenges you go through. It's okay to not be okay. And all this stuff that we talk about in 2026, it just flowed out. And all I used was a simple philosophy. I just tied a little bit of a goal to the end. And then that taught me to go, all right, I quit my day job as Mr. Dakin, so to speak, and then just started my first brand, Body, Mind, Believe, literally the next week. Literally resigned on the spot. I was there for 9 years and 11 months, ready to get my long service, and I still left. And they said, Leon, you got like a $19,500 check coming. I said, that's okay. It's not important to me. Wow. There's a moment in my time, and I believe this is my moment to stand up and just get out of my way, so to speak.
Wow. And then you talked about losing clients as well, early days. Talk to me from where you're with Body by Leon and the PT work and that going into the next phase.
So this was probably this worst time of my life. So I'm on going from a bit of a low from Dino, and then going into the show going, oh, how great am I? I've just overcome, I'm triumphing through these challenges, right? Hang on, that philosophy worked. Well, it kind of did and it kind of didn't, right? It got me to, another tier up. But then what happened was, when I got into this, just training people and coaching people, I didn't realize that I was going to open a can of worms on the Sunshine Coast. I didn't realize every broken person, depressed person, anxiety-riddled person, suicidal person was going to come to me. Everyone knew my story. I was very open about it.
They wanted the health benefits of being trained by you, but I guess maybe what felt connected to your path, your journey.
I never heard anyone really speak 13 years ago about the word suicide on the Sunshine Coast. I was very open about it, and I was very open about everything I did wrong, and that attracted people. And again, it was just raw and honest. And then I actually knew bodybuilding very well, and people go, actually, maybe I can do that. It gave them a goal and a purpose. So I was rolling, mate. I was rolling for about 2 years, and there was lives being saved. There was chats. There was vulnerability happening everywhere. I'd take all these clients. I'd fly them at my expense, mate. I'd fly them around the country, and we'd do all shows, and we're winning everything. This was amazing until it would have been November. It would have been two and a half years after Dean passed. I lost 4. Obviously, these are very, very, very vulnerable people, and I just thought everything was rosy. And then what happened to all these when they did various shows, and then they didn't do well. And they were doing well, so they were happy and great, living off the win off that and the trophies, et cetera, a bit of validation. And then one year, none of them did well. They all took their life within 6 weeks.
4 conversations changed.
Mate, they went deep, Richard. It went down to the assault when they were 13, the rape or something like that. And I'm going, I get it. I get it. And then I'm like, okay. Talking to my wife going, okay, I need to build a place. I need to build a big place that's cool, right? It looks really cool. And it's got I'm visualizing pool tables, table tennis tables, lounges, bean bags, and just one-on-one in there. Big place. So I did it. I built it. And everyone said, man, how are you going to sustain this? I said, not important. I said, and then I was working with around 80, 90 people. So there was enough volume for this thing to be sustainable. A friend of mine jumped in and goes, mate, we'll help you with the rent here. We'll take care of 3/4 of that for you. You just do your thing. I had some good people beside me, Richard, along the journey that's seen the good, the bad, the ugly. And since I built that first place, the garage 10 years ago, then I was into my first place 9 years ago. And I must say, out of the thousands of people to this moment, 2026, I haven't lost a life. I've been able to get to the root core. And now I back myself 100% that parents will come to me going, Leon, I don't know what to bring him in. And I'll sit with the parents for an hour and they go, man, like the empowering you're going to give that my son or daughter needs that. And that's now that belief has grown. Crazy story, mate. Crazy story. And sometimes I feel like, are people thinking, is he telling the truth here? Is he exaggerating this? I wish I was, mate. I wish this was all a dream sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, like we had to push back today's ep timing wise because you had an urgent client to come and see you because they've been dealing with their own darkness and shadow, right?
I would have had goosebumps in that guy's chat, mate, 3-4 times.
Yeah.
And then I find this empowerment moment. My heart will just go, Leon, take over the conversation here. And there's certain things that I can say and the kid will break down. He'll absolutely break down. He's mum and dad will talk about him. He's inherited this old school mentality about, you can't be vulnerable. You get up and get on with it. And get up and get on with it. It's a bit of a cliche. It's no, we be vulnerable first. We can get up. Don't tell anyone to get on with it. Let's just move at the pace that the grief can take you.
Hey team, just popping in to say thanks for listening. If you're enjoying the episode, please take a second to like or follow the show and share it with a friend. It's the best way to help us grow and keep bringing you more great content. All right, let's get back into it.
So then talk to me about Lookout 07 because that's where home is now. And
yes.
Yeah. Talk to me the decision to go all noise into that.
Yes, I just sitting in church one day, my heart said, go build a youth centre. Nothing fancy. It was as simple as that. So I actually walked out that night and walked into my facility that I currently had and started knocking down walls, changing things around and trying to modify it. And then I'm going to reopen it in a couple of weeks. And it just wasn't working. It just wasn't working. Then I decided, I need to go bigger. And I had a really cool place and I spent all my money in it too. And my heart just said, go bigger. So essentially I started looking around. It took me 12 months to find the right place. A good friend of mine that has backed me the whole way. It was the one that come in and goes, he had the idea at the same time as me. So he just seen everything and we were kind of in tuition together. It was quite bizarre. And ironically, he was my first friend, first client also when Dean passed. And he's been still beside me to this day. I still coach his wife for the last 13 14 years. And he was the one that took care of the building to get me in there. So I just having that vision of going, okay, all right, I need a place where young kids now can be vulnerable early. Everyone that I lost, the common denominator was they carried something young. And Dean would have carried something young. Dale, Ange, Steve, Jono, that are no longer here, they all carried something in their teens, whether it was confidence, belief, some bad tragedy event. So I gathered if I can get kids into one place, get them the early intervention, we call it, get them speaking up and talking early, and they're not carrying that burden or carrying that pain for 20, 30 years and they lose all their marriage relationships and with whoever it might be along the way, because that's essentially what's happening. And that gets passed down, as I said, the childhood trauma. So that was the dream. And I go, if I'm not going to do it, we're in trouble because we have a lot of concerns with kids at the moment. Now for us, Richard, myself, I'll talk on behalf of, to have a young child that's 13, 14, tap you on the shoulder and say, Leon, I need to talk. That doesn't happen in this world. It doesn't happen in the real world within the four walls of Lookout A7. It happens. Now, I'd be having 3 private conversations to kids every single night. Now, you can't just make this happen. You need to have, the environment must be so safe.
A certain way.
Free from judgment. There has to be love in the building. I have this saying, the environment has to have a feeling of what we call an unconditional positive regard. 100%, not 90, 100% love and acceptance. That's it. If you can accept the Eshe kid that walks in, he feels or she feels accepted. If you can speak to a child or listen to a child better still and get them the feeling of, he understands me. That's the philosophy. If you don't have rapport and relationships with these kids and remove any judgment, they're not going to open up. It's why we have what we have now, but in our place, it's unique.
And where is the next iteration?
So we've been grinding now for the last 9 months about, I had this vision of a flexi school. So I believe what we're seeing is most of these kids here between the ages of 11, 12, 13 and now want to drop out of school. Now, when they're dropping out of school, they're out in the streets during the day, probably eyeing off your car. And they're the ones that are probably going to get themselves into trouble, right? So I gathered if we have schools that are adapted to these type of kids, flexi schools, they do exist. They're not brand new. But I want them to be in the same model as Lookout 07, having that same, unconditional feeling where, I was made to feel a little bit, uneasy at school. My insecurities, but I was made to feel a bit silly. But it's like a box for the school. You got 30 kids and they're all got different learning disabilities and learning abilities, ADHD, autism, dyslexia, whatever it might be. So I want a school that can cater and can just slow the pace down for these kids to let them adapt to this world that's so fast. And so, yes, we have just secured a place. It's not within our place, which was the first goal, but there is a place to be released soon. So in 2025, we will have, Lookout Community College, and that's exciting.
Lookout Community College.
That's exciting.
On the coast?
Yes. And that'll be our next step to then stepping into more centres.
You're talking about how it would appear that, I'm not going to broad brush it, but there's a lot to be said for childhood trauma.
Mm.
Where does it sit with school and the support the school gives, and support and tools that school can give on an EQ level compared to the parent's role, compared to a teenager's circle of friends or influence, and also compared to their own autonomy to make better decisions and judgments for themselves?
So I've always thought, Richard, that I think as a whole, so whether it's teachers, parents, ourselves here, we're all responsible for our own actions, our own behaviours, our attitudes. Everything starts, I believe, with every single individual. And I've always said if every individual just over the course of 12 months can do 1% better every single day, they're 365% better in 1 year. Now, that's massive. Now, imagine the whole Sunshine Coast decided to go, thank you, Leon, I'm going to adopt that. And I'm going to stand up. Well, we're going to respond better to our kids, listen better. We're probably going to react less and maybe be a little bit more understanding. But I don't like pointing the finger at anyone. I think the teachers, I feel sorry for them. They're being put in a situation where they've got to teach the same curriculum to the same kids with different learning disabilities. The pressures on them is so great, and they're getting burnt out. They're getting tired. They've got a whole heap of kids playing up. Then the kids get angry. Then the teacher gets angry. Then the kids get kicked out. Then they're in trouble there. Then they get suspended. Then they go home. Mum and dad yell at them.
Yep.
Now the kid doesn't feel worthy anywhere. Now the confidence was shattered as it was. Now they've just been squashed. So they come in to Lookout 07 with a tail between their legs, no confidence, no belief, no empowerment. And I never like pointing fingers because I'm not that guy, but all I say is mum and dad are trying to do their best. The teachers are trying to do their best. The world's gone so fast, it's expensive. Mum and dad both have to work. Now, times are different from 20 years ago. Mum worked and mum was home and do the cooking and do the house stuff, and dad would just come home. But things have just changed. And I just think the pressures on society, on people, which get thrown directly down the kids. Kids need so much more love. They are amount of times, Richard, kids just, Leon, can I have this? Leon, can you play with me? Leon, watch this. Hey, Leon, watch this throw. Hey, Leon, did you see that? Hey, Leon, can you play pool? Hey, Leon, can I attack? That's what goes on. And all these poor kids just go, hey, just what about me? Remember the old moving pictures song? That's essentially, that's it.
They just want love.
Mate, remember those unconditional words of love and acceptance, mate. Love and accept the kids. Here's perfect words straight from the horse's mouth, kids. Just love and acceptance. And please understand that we're going to get lots of things wrong. We don't mean to get things wrong. Can you just understand that we're struggling? I don't mean to vape, mum and dad, but I'm vaping because I don't know any other way how to control this anxiety because this lion's about to eat me right now. And having this vape is nothing for me to be concerned about because that lion's going to do more damage. And when I say that, ironically, these kids going through this extreme anxiety, which is 98% of kids, if you don't know what that extreme anxiety feels like or disorder, it'd be like throwing a child into a lion's cage. Yeah. That's what they're seeing. And I'm just going, man, like, I'm not saying you got to keep the kids home when they're anxious. There's a part they've got to push through that as well. But, there's another thing too. If kids are anxious, I think it's about trying to understand why, get to the why.
As a parent then, and I'm speaking to someone who, my eldest of 5 is just turned 12. I like to think we've got an incredible relationship and we're working already on the ways that his mind will and emotions will change as he develops into puberty and into teenage years. But I'm not suggesting to point fingers at parents, but what can parents do better? Let's say in a world where is busier than ever, you're more distracted than ever as adults. There's more pressures on, it's more, especially on the coast, in Australia, probably generally the cost of living is very high, and so you've got a lot of financial pressure as well. What's your takeaways of what parents can do to help the situation?
Yeah, I think first thing first, it's just take a seat. Just take a seat and have a breath and just do some reflection. There's always ask questions, what can I change? What haven't I changed? What do I need to change? Just ask yourself a couple of checking questions. But with the answers you get, let's take some action on them. There's a lot of time, I know I've got to do that. I know I keep saying that, which is a common response that I hear every day. I was like, hang on, why can't we take these actions? So I think having a little reflection and an honest check-in. If you're a person that, snaps at your child, that's okay. No parent wants to upset a child. It's just how it is. And a lot, if they are snappy or reactive, again, they've probably got a lot of personal challenges. There could be trauma going on, challenges, immediate relationship concerns, financial concerns. The kids are just copping the back end of that. So I think parents, starting point, just have a check-in with yourself, but be honest and raw. But whatever you find needs addressing, don't ignore the elephant in the room. If it means that you need to get uncomfortable and go and have that conversation with a friend or an uncle or an auntie or a therapist, you've got to have that vulnerable conversation. If you don't, you're going to do an injustice to your kids. And I'll tell you, the kids at the moment, unfortunately, straight from the horse's mouth, they're losing trust in their parents because they're worried about talking to their parents or being open and vulnerable. Because if they're going to, a child's got a vape, and then parents go, Leon, can you talk to my child? They've got a vape. They're 13. I said, actually, no, I'm not going to address the vape. They're like, what do you mean? Well, I need them to stop vaping. No. We need to know why they're taking the vape. Yeah, but it's wrong. It's not good for the health. I said, you yelling at the child and always thinking they're in trouble. Did you teach them resilience? Did they learn that at school? Did they learn how to overcome their anxiety? No. I said, what you want to do is unconditionally love them. Now, I'm not saying the vapes are right or wrong. I'm so against them, it's not funny. What I'm saying is we're addressing the wrong thing. And I think parents just having a bit of a check-in with themselves to go, hey, just before you sort of come down on what you see from the surface as the problem, let's see if we can find a solution to maybe what the root core actually is.
And is the general tools of providing the lessons to the kids, is that directly in line with how we conduct ourselves as parents? Like, are we the best example? Because I can't imagine a lesson on resilience hits home to a child if you aren't resilient as a parent.
No, and kids are going to fall and they're going to make mistakes, and we can try and bubble wrap them, and sometimes we've just got to hope that they're not going to do anything majorly wrong. So as a little example on that, it was such a great question. As I sat down with the parents, had a bit of an intervention about their child, and the child's a little Christian child and the Christian family, and they don't want to let him out at night past 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. He gets teased from his mates. Oh, you're never allowed out, you're boring, and we don't want to be friends with you anymore. This is what he's copying now. So he goes, all right, well, I'll go take your car for a joyride then. So now he's in trouble because he's taking the parents' car for a joyride. So anyway, then he starts doing some more things like that. He goes and takes his mate's motorbike and goes down Nicholson Way and takes it for a ride, gets pulled over by the cops, so he's now in trouble, right? So the mum and dad are sitting down, they're going, oh, what do we do, this and that? And I said, okay, well, let's look at this objectively, right? He's constantly in trouble. He's doing things to almost get your attention, number one. I said, he's doing some minor things, but they're building to major things. I said, the more that you try and baby him, nurse him, tell him, don't do this, you can't do this or the other, that's building to a major thing. And that major thing could be stealing a car, going on the Bruce Highway and creating a major accident, which he may not get a second chance. If he's doing little minor things and he's coming home an hour late and he's getting to work an hour late, well, he'll let him work that out. Let him find out that he's going to work early. He's getting up not the time they should do. He might lose his job. Let him fall. Oh, but then he'll lose his job. That's okay. Let him fall. At least he's safe and alive. But the more that you try and say no, what's going to happen is that's built to something major. And that's going to be a volcano when a kid says. Now, we got kids at the moment, they're volcanoes. They are ready, absolutely ready to unleash. And that's a concern. And when they unleash, all they've got to do is go find a knife or do something silly and be around the wrong people and do something that's a build-up of whatever they've been going through their mind. So they are a time bomb at the moment, and this is scary. It's why we can contain them, calm them, teach them to talk, teach them to be vulnerable, and that's our part. But honestly, mate, we need 50 of these centres with the same kind of setup. And I'll tell you what, you watch youth crime, and you can put flexi schools with them, because most of these kids in the next 20 years, mate, mainstream school, they're going to struggle. They're probably not going to be there anymore, and they'll start closing down, because the way moving forward is the kids need to be spoken to a little bit different than we parented in 1980. At different times, different paced world. We just need to adjust, and we've had to adjust to the times of whether COVID, we had to adjust to online, we've had to adjust to phones. We need to adjust to the way we parent. We just have to. And what we used to do, times have changed. We can't yell at these kids. They're too vulnerable. It's just a different era. We didn't know any better. We get smacked when we were younger. We didn't do that. Now, these kids, I hate to say it, need to be nurtured and understood.
You deal with such heavy topics, Leon, and I think it was before we press record, you don't burn out from it because it's almost your calling, right? It is your calling.
Yeah.
You're dealing with such heavy topics, and there's not, other than the I guess the understanding of the impact you're providing and the center's providing and all your volunteers, which are an army.
Yeah.
How do you look after your own mental health? How do you, and have there been darker days than others?
That was the period. From moving forward from that, you have moments, like there are moments in my world that you are gonna, I wouldn't say burn out. I can kind of get myself just in before. There's times where, you can't avoid the inevitable. You're long days, long nights. It's just how it is. And there are moments, I would say every 6 weeks, to be honest, there'll be moments where I'm feeling, okay, I'm getting flat and I'm running out of steam here, running out of ammo. And what I will do is I'll be in tune and go, oh, okay, it's Thursday, it's the last day, the center's closed, got a few days off. Next week, the following week, what I will do is I'll probably do some bookings where I'll go, I might just see a couple of people in the morning and then I might just duck home, maybe the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and just have, 4 hours chilling, sitting beside the pool, bit of Netflix. So like a gear stick, I'll probably throw it in neutral for a week.
Yeah.
And that's enough to reach. I don't need weeks. I don't need huge holidays, just a little charge up. And to add to that, it's pretty cool. 2 things. Number one, I was very fortunate to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger. And in the moment of meeting him, I went up and I shook his hand, Richard, and he goes, oh, Leon, love your zest for life, your energy, your passion. It's amazing, but can I give you some advice? Sure, Arnold, of course you can. And he looked me in the eyes, he stared me in the eyes and he goes, Leon, he goes, I love your energy, but you got to learn when to switch it off. I had no idea what he's talking about. He's looking me in the eyes, he's pulled me closer. He goes, you know what I'm talking about? He goes, when you leave here, think about it and then do it. So anyway, I had no idea what he was talking about for an hour. Then I just processed the moment as you do. And then it all come to me. He goes, okay, I can't run at 5th gear. My energy is high, so switch it off. It's essentially all he was saying. Now, if you get advice from parents or someone you aspire to, or you listen to this podcast and there's something that's been said that's resonated with you, just act on it. So if me meeting Arnold, what am I going to do? Nah, Arnold, I'm not going to rest. No,
I'll
thanks.
stay on 5th gear.
Yeah, I think I'm going to see how I go, and I'll see who comes out better, Arnold, you or me.
Yeah.
Now, it's pure ignorance. So one person I have been that person where I go, if I met a Tony Robbins, or who I love, if I had an hour with him, I would be doing everything that he said. I wouldn't be going, I'll try that one, Tony, all this. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but I also have what I call the chair. In my gym, I walk in at 5:10. I turn the lights on. I put nice calming music on. I grab a coffee. I don't even like coffee, but it's part of the routine. And I sit there for 10, 15 minutes, mate. I just sit there by myself in solitude, and I just calm in. Bit of gratitude comes in my heart. What I said earlier about what can I change, what haven't I changed, what do I need to change. Quick check-in, quick reflection. Think of some really cool things. I don't have to sit here and write it. Don't need to go that much detail about gratitude. Just have a bit of a feeling and look around and go, this is pretty cool. I've been doing that for 8 years nonstop.
Wow.
8 years nonstop. Remember I said also at the start that one of my greatest attributes was just doing the simple things well.
Mm-hmm.
That is about as simple as you need to do with mindfulness. It doesn't need to go any technical. It doesn't cost anyone any time.
Yeah.
It's just consistently showing up for that 6-7 days a week. If I miss a day, it's probably because it's the weekend, but I'll be doing something in it anyway. But that routine is just set in stone. It doesn't change. And no one will come in, no clients, no one will come in early during my time. And then I'll train after that and I'll see someone at 7 o'clock. It's so simple, but again, simple works. And I think we overcomplicate when it comes to mindset, depression, anxiety. You go do the simple things well over and over again with intent. I can sit on the chair, but if I haven't got intent to want to make change to my mindset, it's probably not going to change. If you go to the gym, if you don't, put in a little bit of effort or some intent, you've just gone to the gym, you don't change. Where a lot of people don't change, right?
What do you think your 12-year-old self would think seeing you now?
Be very humble, be very humbly proud. Probably to say also that I'd never really changed who I thought I was when I was younger. Mightn't have been great or smart in my mind then, But I always knew that there was something in my heart that I just wanted to be a kind person. And I was okay for the girls that dumped me when I was younger, Richard, to remain kind. And that's the part that I think I've just remained myself. And even with all the success or whatever people want to call it that goes on now, if anything, I've become way more grounded. I don't even put myself on the books at the work. I don't even have a title. All I am is I walk around very casual so that I don't stand out in front of the crowd. And that's important for the kids. For me, just to be one of them, not superior to them, just be one of them. And that's been a big success thing. So I think just if anyone can just find that authenticity and genuineness within yourself, if you can display that, mate, people are drawn to that. People love that. And that's the part that I go, I didn't get down cranky. I didn't get moody. I wasn't so traumatized that I hurt people. I just kind of just stayed Leon. And I think that's the part, and just try to involve on that. So I think Leon at 12 years young would be proud that I didn't change my DNA, so to speak.
It is so remarkable coming in. This is half the rule. A lot of the reason why we have the show, because I love, obviously you've had to endure some significant trauma, right? But it's not just that. You were, and I did not know the story of your childhood growing up in the box that you sort of, your parents, as you say, they're doing their best, but they put you in this position to say, don't think too much of yourself in terms of potential.
Yeah.
And now knowing, I'm very aware, then fast forward, I'm very aware of who you are now and what you've been able to achieve and impact on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. And now seeing the school, it's remarkable. It is truly. And I just think it is an incredible story, man.
That's very kind. Thank you. And, I'm just having fun, Richard. Like I don't take life too seriously, to be honest, mate. I've got nothing. I've lost a lot, and everything from now is a bonus. And that's all I've done. That's all I've done. And if I can, I guess when they lay me down, and people can walk up to their gravestone and go, you know what, that he was a good guy. I think that's all we ever want, isn't it, mate? I think I'll be pretty happy with that, Richard.
What does your wife think?
She's struggled earlier to realise that I married a certain person. She did, and now, which was just a tradesman and just a guy that, and then to this day, look, being married now. Well, next month we'll be 25 years married. So we're 24 years married and 25 together in April on actually Anzac Day. Yeah. So look, she honestly, mate, she sits in the background, plays a big role in the charity, does all the nuts and bolts that I don't want to do. I don't want to know all about it, but as proud as a wife can be, mate, and that's a nice moment too. Obviously, my daughter, they do cheer me from the sideline, definitely, mate. So without that stability at home, would I be Leon? No, mate. There's no way in the world. And I'm very big on to make sure if the centre has to do well and the schools need to do well, I've got to do well, and I've got to bring that home. If I wasn't being Leon at home, I can't be ingenuine. There's going to be an incongruency with what we'd like to say. It's just a mismatch between inside and outside. But that word congruency just means, what you see on Leon on the outside, the same's on the inside, and I just bring that home, mate. And I think if the house is stable, work is stable. And I think you'd probably be able to vouch for that as well.
100%. If you can have a foundation that's strong and supportive, and she's your biggest cheerleader, anything's possible.
It's brilliant. I just find a way to get that joy in your heart. And when you do that, and if it means, Richard, it means maybe I'm not asking for people to go build charities and foundations. And if you can go and sacrifice a couple of hours of your time, and that could be, it could be serving at a school, it could be volunteering at Lookout, it could be being, driving a van around and dropping food off. It's just something that ticks your heart.
Running from Noosa to Caloundra.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. Oh, that wasn't that fun. You guys, wow. Well, we had the easy job. You guys got really stitched up there. Yeah, we'll just duck up the mountain and back. Yeah. But thank you for that, by the way, mate.
No, honestly. Seems like it's going to be a yearly thing.
Yes.
This has been so good, man. I'll put all the links to the charity and to your stuff as well. And if any of this resonates with the audience, obviously jump on that, check you out, check the charity out, see what they can do to support. And we're looking forward to seeing the school next year and how that all progresses. It's
beautiful.
Before you go, quick fire questions.
Yes.
What does success mean to you?
Joy. I just think if you can get that joy in your heart, I think you're successful. And whether that's money, whether it's a home or whether it's material items. But I think if you're walking around with a smile on your face more often than not, I think everything follows from that anyway. So
what does happiness mean to you?
Probably the equivalent of just a lower scale. For me, I try to use that word joy over happiness, and happiness is short-term emotion. I think there's moments of struggle and challenges where you can find some little bursts of happiness that can build some momentum that can push you forward. But definitely I'm always striving to get that next tier. I think happiness is great, but that's short-lived. Joyful is an endless feeling that, mate, you can bring on, and you have a choice, mate. You have a choice. I get asked often, Leon, why are you happy? It's a choice. Or why are you joyful? Well, that's my choice. But what if you had a bad day? I still can choose to be joyful at the same time.
You have a bad day and be joyful.
Yeah.
Sure. Love that. What would be the number one piece of advice you would give to somebody?
Everything starts with you, and everything that you do and say, just be kind. It's free.
I love that. I was so hoping you'd say that.
Yeah. And
that's you, right?
It is, mate. It's everywhere in our center. And
be kind. It's free.
I put it on a shirt once about 10 years ago, just randomly loved it. And I put on my shirt and I used to go through airports and people would just stop. Actually, I had it on, but I took it off before I come here. It's pretty simple, but essentially that's what I live by, kindness.
What does your normal morning routine look like? When are you up?
Get usually up around 5 to 5, 10 to 5. Get up, shower. I always brush my teeth in the shower. It's the habit. And then I'll shoot off to work, get in there about 5:15, 10 past 5. Just say, walk in, lights on, radio on, calming music, get the coffee, sit on the chair. It literally doesn't change, mate. And that's a staple, mate, everywhere. Saturday's a bit different. Might be sleep in for half an hour. Might go for a surf. I love my surfing.
Yeah.
Love my surfing. And that's set in stone, doesn't change.
And someone that you know who you think would be a great guest to have on the show.
Oh, gee, that's a tough one. Oh my God, there's so many people. Oh my God, I can't think the top of my head because there's so many people. The thing I love about the Sunshine Coast is there's so many. Paul Morton. I'm going to say Paul Morton. If you know Paul Morton from Inclusive Kids, he single-handedly, him and Steve Hurst, single-handedly saved me with my centre, mate. After about 9 months, I was broke. I had no money. I'd literally $4,000 in the bank, mate. They put together the first chicken run, and so Peter Stevens, Yoda as well. But these guys come in and they connected me with people, mate. They're just both got love and hearts. Either one of them, mate, is just one as successful as people come and very wise as people come. But when it comes to humility and giving and kindness, the top of the tree, and they both single-handedly stopped what they were doing at times to pull me through the line. They just probably believed in Lookout 7. So I'm gonna say them too, and they wouldn't know that I'd say this.
Yeah.
But just absolute gentlemen with cracking stories too.
Yeah, cool. Leon, thank you so much, man. It's been an absolute thrill, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, Richard.
It's so inspiring.
So appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me on.
Cheers, man.
Thank you.
That was another episode of the Success Times Happiness podcast. Next time you're driving up and down the Sunshine Coast, turn to the person next to you and tell them all about the show. It really means a lot. A huge thank you to Dr. Leon for sharing his powerful story with such honesty, humility, and heart. If today's conversation inspired you, please subscribe, leave a comment, or share it with someone who needs to hear it. It really means a lot. Until next time,